days. Tomorrow marks 1,000 days of Putin's barbaric, full-scale invasion of Ukraine. Over the weekend, we saw the latest brutality with the biggest aerial attack on Ukraine since August, killing and injuring dozens of civilians. It was designed not only to kill Ukrainians, but to take out, effectively, Ukraine's power infrastructure and to cause blackouts. Putin wants to plunge Ukraine into darkness. But today, standing here with my friend, the Ukrainian Foreign Minister, Andrii Sybiha, the UK is showing our support to Ukraine is ironclad. We will help keep the lights of Ukraine on in the face of Putin's aggression. For 1,000 days, Ukraine has courageously resisted Russia's aggression. And that matters not just for Ukraine's security, Britain's security, or indeed Europe's security. It matters because Putin, if he succeeds in Ukraine, he will tip the world beyond the tipping point that we are on, a point where the principles of the UN Charter, self-determination, territorial integrity, and international law are lost, and there's no meaning. So this is a grim milestone, and I'm here at the United Nations to say to member states, unless Putin fails, the wars of conquest will be back. Unless Putin fails, our faith in international law will never return. Unless Putin fails, all of our borders will not be safe. The Kremlin is now turning to Iran for ballistic missiles. It's turning to North Korea for foot soldiers. These are dangerous escalations that show, frankly, how desperate Putin has become. Today, I can announce that the UK is sanctioning Iran Air, sanctioning Islamic Republic of Iran shipping lines, and we are absolutely determined to exact the maximum pay for Russia's industrial complex. Its mercenary groups in Africa are subject to these, with links to the Kremlin. Its shadow fleet, of course, we've gone after, and malicious cyber Russian gangs and Kremlin mouthpieces. And we will have more to say on that in the coming months. My message is very clear. We will counter Russian aggression at every turn. 1,000 days in, we still stand for Ukraine. 1,000 days in, we still stand for international order. 1,000 days in, we still stand for the principles which the United Nations was founded upon. And 1,000 days in, we're ready to face down this aggression. We've seen the wrecking just today that Russia is capable of on humanitarian catastrophes like Sudan. Let us ensure that they do not succeed in their tyranny in Ukraine. Andrii.
I thank my friend Secretary Lammy for setting Russian aggression as a priority for the UK presidency. This global threat demands global response. When I departed for New York, Russia undertook one of the most massive air attacks against Ukraine. With my wife and children, we had a sleepless night, just like thousands of other Ukrainian families. About 90 drones and 120 missiles of all types across the country. Russia once again targeted civilians and energy infrastructure ahead of winter, intentionally. Such strikes are a constant, horrible reality in Ukraine. This time, Russian missiles targeted our nuclear energy system. In particular, transmission substations, which are part of our nuclear power plants. Such Russian strikes create unacceptable risks for our nuclear safety and security. This is a danger not only for Ukraine, but for the entire world. Russia's massive missile attack is a response to all those who called and visited Putin recently. to those who shook his hand, held telephone talks with him, asked him for peace. He only wants war, and he will only stop when we stop him and force him to accept a just peace. Tomorrow marks 1,000 days since Russia's full-scale invasion. In total, Russian aggression against Ukraine has already lasted more than 10 years. I would like to remind this. 1,000 days is a big number, and it shows how urgent it is to achieve a comprehensive, just and long-lasting peace. It also shows the failure of existing international mechanisms and the need to update them. Russian aggression harms not only Ukraine, but many more countries and people. It caused a number of global crises in food, energy, security, and other areas affecting millions of people. Today, at the Security Council meeting, I will speak about the price of this war for Ukraine and the world. Price of this war. The terrible price we have already paid, and the price we will have to pay if wrong decisions are taken now. I will also explain why peace at any cost, or rather at the cost of the UN Charter, will not work. We need real and just peace, and it can only be achieved through strength, not appeasement. Russia creates global security threats by consolidating military alliances with such rogue states as Iran and DPRK. In February 2022, many experts predicted Ukraine's quick collapse, and they were wrong. But none could have envisioned the presence of North Korean troops in Europe fighting against a European country. If not stopped, Russia will continue the proliferation of war. The Security Council must keep addressing the Russia crisis, including within the Council itself. I mean Russia's illegal occupation of the Soviet permanent seat. Ukraine's stance is clear and well-known: comprehensive, just, and lasting peace based on UN Charter. This is at the center of the peace formula. This war is much larger than Ukraine. It will define the future of European and global security, the future of international order based on international law. We must take the right steps and decisions. We must not repeat the mistakes of the past. Recently, President Zelensky presented the Victory Plan as a tool to enforce the peace formula. And we must take strong steps to compel Russia toward a just and lasting peace. This is the peace through strength concept, and our joint efforts will help stop the aggression and achieve such peace. This is the interest of all of us. Thank you. Thank you, my dear friends.
We'll take a few brief questions. Let's start.
Minister.
Ambassador,
Thank you. Mr. Ministers and Mr. Secretary, Pamela Falk from U.S. News and World Report. How worried are you? You said that the attack this weekend was deplorable. How worried are both of you of the President-elect of the United States position, President-elect Trump on Ukraine?
Today, we are dealing with Russian aggression, civilian lives lost, energy supplies shut down, over 100 missiles, over 100 drones today. And that requires a response from Ukraine and its allies today. And that is what we will continue to do to put Ukraine in the strongest possible position, recognizing that we have winter months ahead, that Ukraine must get through those winter months, and recognizing that the international community has come together to pledge a lot of military equipment and money. It's important that that gets out the door and puts Ukraine in the strongest possible position in 2025. Now look, I've been coming to the United States for all of my adult life. That's over 30 years. I've studied in this country, I've worked in this country, and I know that there's a simple rule: one president at a time. And so we're dealing with President Biden, and we are committed to put Ukraine in the strongest possible position.
Mr. Lammy, with Mondo Weiss.
With your permission.
Sorry.
Thanks a lot for your question. You see, I will start with sharing with my memories. As I said, I started this trip together with all Ukrainian families. Experiences the most intensive missile attack. And that's the daily reality for our Ukrainian families, for our children, sleepless night, sirenas. And that's why I felt really uncomfortable today morning here in New York without sirenas. And you see, keeping in mind that my people suffering, we must stop, and we must stop this aggression. To have a normal life, that's not a privilege. And I think that the world have enough power to stop this aggression. Speaking about future cooperation with the new administration, we see as a chance new opportunities to speed up the process of achievement long-lasting, just, comprehensive peace for Ukraine. We are confident in the support of USA. We are confident in bipartisan support, and we consider that this war is not about Ukraine. It's not, you see, a donation. It's a true contribution for the future security, global security, European security. We are fighting for our common values.
Mr. Lammy, may I ask?
Mr. Ministers, Edith Lederer from the Associated Press. President Biden's administration has just authorized the use of longer-range missiles in Russia. Mr. Minister, what impact do you believe that can have on the war and on achieving the kind of peace that Ukraine wants? And Minister Lammy, is the United Kingdom going to follow suit and authorize similar use of its long-range missiles? Thank you.
Madam, thanks a lot for this so important question. So briefly, it could be a game changer. And the longer Ukraine can strike, the shorter the war will be. And our Ukraine's position has always been clear. We have a full right to strike military targets on the territory of Russia. It is our legitimate right, and it will save our lives of our civilians. It could have very positive impact on the situation on the battlefield.
Look, let me just say that I don't want to be drawn on the use of long-range missiles, and that is because it risks operational security, and it can only play into the hands of Putin, and I will do nothing to play into the hands of Putin. There are now 10,000 North Korean troops in Russia, linking the Indo-Pacific and the Euro-Atlantic. As we meet here in the UN, 1,000 days into this war, none of us would have considered such a transshipment of troops. This is a major, major escalation. And so I repeat what Prime Minister Starmer has said since coming to office. We must stand with Ukraine, put Ukraine in the strongest possible position, and that is what the United Kingdom will continue to do. And of course, we continue to work very, very closely with President Biden. That's why I was with Tony Blinken last week meeting in Brussels.